What if everything we've been told about Christian success was completely wrong? For many today, the face of faith is a smiling assurance of health, wealth, and your best life now. This is the core promise of the prosperity gospel. We are diving deep to uncover a theological tension. Is the American dream of success truly the message of the ancient cross? We'll examine this popular theology against the very heart of biblical faith and why this matters for every spiritual journey. Deconstructing the prosperity gospel. The core tenets. The prosperity gospel, often called word of faith, rests on four main pillars. 1. Divine entitlement. God wills for believers to be financially rich and physically healthy. 2. Positive confession. Words have creative power. You must name it and claim it. Speak your desired blessings into existence. 3. Give to get. This is often the most controversial part, the seed faith doctrine. You must give financially, especially to the ministry, to unlock a proportionally larger financial return from God. 4. The cross is a means to material ends. Jesus' sacrifice not only atoned for sin, but also paid for all poverty, sickness, and pain in this life. The problem of suffering. The challenge for this theology is simple: suffering. If a faithful believer is poor, sick, or faces tragedy, the implicit and sometimes explicit answer is that they have failed to have enough faith or they have been robbed by the enemy. This often leads to guilt, disillusionment, and a deep theological confusion when life inevitably goes wrong. The true message of the cross. The centrality of redemption. In contrast, the traditional historic Christian gospel centers on redemption. The cross is not primarily a key to a new car. It is the radical display of God's love and holiness. The message of the cross is: 1. God's holiness and human sin. We are fundamentally separated from a holy God by our sin. 2. Substitutionary atonement. Jesus, the sinless Son of God, died in our place, absorbing the just penalty for our rebellion. The goal of discipleship. The cross defines the Christian life not as a climb to earthly prosperity, but as a path of transformation. The blessing is not money. The blessing is Jesus himself, union with Christ. The goal is to be conformed to his image, which means embracing the same values he did: humility, self-denial, and service. Jesus' instructions to his disciples, Matthew 10. The mission: as you go, preach. To understand Christian success, we must look at Jesus' own definition of success for those he called to ministry. In Matthew 10, Jesus commissions his 12 disciples. He doesn't tell them to build megachurches or amass wealth. He gives them instructions for a mission that is radical, simple, and costly. The true nature of the call. Look at what Jesus specifically tells them to do. 1. The focus is on the spiritual, not the material. v. 7-8. Heal the sick, raise the dead, cleanse lepers, cast out demons. Their ministry is to announce the kingdom of heaven is at hand. It is about spiritual power and eternal realities. 2. Radical dependency, not accumulation. v. 9-10. Jesus tells them, acquire no gold, nor silver, nor copper for your belts, no bag for your journey, nor 2 tunics, nor sandals, nor staff. He commands them to be radically dependent on God's provision through others, actively rejecting the very concept of personal wealth accumulation as a necessary part of the mission. 3. Expect persecution, not popularity. v. 16-25. Jesus warns them, behold, I am sending you out as sheep in the midst of wolves. He promises trouble, hatred, and betrayal. He says, a disciple is not above his teacher, nor a servant above his master. Since Jesus suffered, we should expect to as well. This directly contradicts the prosperity promise of smooth sailing and constant favor. Conclusion of Matthew 10. The message is clear. The The success of the Christian mission is not measured by the size of the bank account or the absence of difficulty, but by faithfulness in proclaiming the message and endurance through suffering for the sake of the kingdom. The spiritual journey. The theological divide has critical implications for your spiritual journey. It changes your focus. Do you seek God for His gifts or for God Himself? Prosperity focuses on the horizontal, your life on earth. The cross focuses on the vertical, your relationship with God and your eternal destiny. It reevaluates generosity. Biblical giving is an act of worship and care for the needy, a sacrificial response to God's grace. It is not a financial transaction or an investment where a larger return is guaranteed. True generosity is an emptying, not an acquiring. It prepares you for reality. The prosperity gospel sets people up for disillusionment when the promised blessings don't arrive. The gospel of the cross, by contrast, gives you a framework for hope in suffering, knowing that Christ's power is made perfect in your weakness. Conclusion. Where is your treasure? Jesus once asked, "Where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." The true measure of Christian success is not a life lived free of trouble, but a life spent faithful to the calling, focused on the kingdom of heaven, and willing to embrace the cost of the cross. This is the narrow road that leads to life. From a biblical perspective, true Christian success is not about what you possess, but who you are and who you serve. Obedience and righteousness. Success is tied to meditating on and obeying God's law, as stated in Joshua 1 verse 8, which leads to spiritual prosperity. Trust in God. Proverbs 3 verses 5 to 6 links a straight path, a form of success, to completely trusting in God rather than relying on human understanding. Stewardship and calling. The parable of the talents suggests success is faithfulness and diligence in using the gifts and resources God has entrusted to you for His purposes. Matthew 25 verse 21. Eternal perspective. Jesus asked, "What do you benefit if you gain the whole world but lose your own soul?" Matthew 16 verse 26. This shifts the ultimate measure of success from temporal wealth to eternal standing with God. In essence, critics argue that the prosperity gospel distorts the radical call of the gospel, which is to take up one's cross, self-denial, and follow Christ, centering on God's glory and eternal promises, rather than earthly ease and personal gratification. It is all about Jesus. Follow and subscribe for more.